All right, let's get into it. Today, we're talking about a story pretty much everyone thinks they know, the sinking of the Titanic. But we're going to look at it from a completely different angle, an angle that uncovers this really fascinating paradox about money, risk, and, those big systems we all believe are just indestructible. And this quote really just hits you, right? Money can buy almost anything, but on April 15th, 1912, it couldn't buy physics. I mean, that perfectly sets the stage. Think about it. On that one night, all the money, all the status, all the power of the Gilded Age, it all became totally worthless when faced with the cold, hard, unchangeable laws of physics. Okay, so to really unpack this whole paradox, we have to first understand what the Titanic actually was. Because, let me tell you, it was way, way more than just a big ship. I mean, the Titanic was basically a perfect symbol of the time. It represented this Gilded Age arrogance, this illusion that our technology had made us invincible. It was the physical proof of an idea, the belief that human smarts, backed by a ton of cash, had finally beaten nature. It wasn't just fancy, it was designed to be unsinkable. And that wasn't just some marketing slogan, It was a genuine statement of faith. Faith in a whole system of human progress that felt like it could never, ever be stopped. And now, let's get to the exact moment that whole myth just completely shattered against the cold, hard reality of the North Atlantic. What's wild is that the disaster created this brutal kind of equality. I mean, you had some of the richest men on the planet on that ship. John Jacob Astor IV? The guy was so rich he could have bought the Titanic multiple times over. But in the end, did it matter? Nope. Their fate had nothing to do with their bank accounts. The iceberg, the freezing water, that became the great equalizer. So there's actually a name for this phenomenon: forced redistribution. It's that moment when all the abstract rules we live by, money, social status, they just get thrown out the window, and they're replaced by the very real, very concrete rules of the physical world. Suddenly, your net worth means absolutely nothing when the fundamental system holding you up, in this case literally the ship's hull, completely fails. And the cost of that failure, it was just staggering. Over 1,500 people. That number really drives it home, doesn't it? It shows in the most powerful way possible that no amount of money, no financial insulation could protect anyone once the entire system was broken. So, okay, why are we talking about a ship that sank over 100 years ago? What does that have to do with today? Well, it's because our belief in unsinkable things, it never really left. Just think about that unsinkable ship from 1912 for a second. That absolute rock-solid faith people had in it. Well, that became the safe asset of 2008. See the parallel? It's the exact same kind of confidence, the same hubris, that people had in these so-called safe investments right before everything came crashing down. The words are different, but the belief? It's identical. And this all leads us to a concept called financial insulation. So what is that? It's basically the belief that your money is safe because you've put it into things that just can't fail, right? You've heard this before. We're talking about the too big to fail banks or those mortgage-backed securities that had a perfect AAA rating right up until the moment they imploded in 2008. Heck, even the idea that some cryptocurrencies were the ultimate safe haven, a perfect shield from the traditional markets. At the end of the day, it's all just a modern way of calling a ship unsinkable. And look, these major failures, they aren't just random one-off events. They're a reoccurring pattern. In 2008, the hidden iceberg was the housing market. Then in 2021, for a lot of people, it was the crypto crash. You see the story repeating itself, right? An unsinkable system sails along just fine until it hits a disaster that no one saw coming. Which brings us to the core idea, the big paradox we've been building up to. And believe me, it's more relevant right now than ever before. So what is the Titanic paradox? It's this: the belief that your wealth is a shield, that it insulates you from a system-wide collapse, when in reality, it often makes you the most exposed. Why? Because all that wealth completely depends on the survival of the very system that's about to fail. Here's the bottom line, the most crucial point of all. When the system itself is the thing that's failing, your position inside that system offers you zero protection. When the ship is actually sinking, who cares if you have a first-class ticket? That ticket is now just a worthless piece of paper because the ship that gave it value is gone. The money that Astor and Guggenheim had might as well have been imaginary the second that hull was breached. Their entire fortune was tied to a system that was literally sinking into the ocean. And that really leaves us with one final big question. The people who built the Titanic, they never saw the iceberg. The masterminds behind the 2008 financial system, they didn't see their iceberg coming either. So the question we really have to ask ourselves now is, what are today's unsinkable assets? And what's our iceberg?